For generations, the words "the American dream" were the benchmark. It was the guarantee of unlimited possibility, economic security, and a more prosperous life for your children. But today, something basic has changed. The home of the brave is experiencing a disturbing trend, an exodus. Hundreds of thousands of educated, talented, and economically secure Americans are moving on without fanfare. The question is not where they are headed, but why they're headed there. The video you are currently viewing is not a matter of political demagoguery. It is an issue of systemic breakdown, exacerbated by a new age of economic isolationism and international trade tension. We've looked at the numbers, and now we see that the drivers of this great American exit are tangled up. The suffocating cost of living, the broken healthcare system, the debilitating political warfare, and the culture of constant burnout. But today, we focus on a key accelerant to this crisis: weaponized trade policy and the ensuing global instability, a chaos that lands directly on the back of the American middle class. The choice to leave the country is never an impulse. It is often an economic triage. And for millions of Americans, the sheer financial burden of remaining in the US has simply become unsustainable. It is not a matter of being poor, it is a matter of being financially responsible in the face of out-of-control expenses. Pay has effectively remained stagnant for decades, while the expense of the four pillars of contemporary life, housing, healthcare, childcare, and education, has risen meteorically. Then add on top of this the problem of trade wars. Take the effect of the tariff stick. When America slaps tariffs on its main allies and trading partners, whether China, Europe, or its immediate neighbor, Canada, the economic shock effect is instant and homegrown. These tariffs, presented as ways of protecting American industry, become a stealth tax on American consumers and producers. Businesses that depend on international supply chains pay more for raw materials such as steel or aluminum. These added expenses are passed on straight away, resulting in pricier cars, more expensive building materials, and ultimately, another hike in the cost of living. The effect is most evident on the typical American pocketbook. Inflation, already driven up by systemic spending, is compounded by the unpredictability and costs of doing business in global trade warfare. The American economy is not set up to encourage stability, but rather to penalize sickness and reward debt, and now it is slapping on a geopolitical risk component to every consumer transaction. This kind of unpredictability deters domestic business investment and caps job growth, further undermining the bedrock of the American dream. Aside from the balance sheet, there is the emotional and psychological cost of residing in a hyperpolarized, politically charged environment. This is the often referred to political exhaustion, which is an invisible killer of social cohesion and a principal cause of emigration. Political polarization in America has hit all-time record highs. The politics have deteriorated to the level of tribal warfare, where the other side is not only in error, but is perceived as a danger to the health of the country. This kind of rigid polarization directly carries over into governmental gridlock. The failure of both sides to agree on essential topics such as infrastructure, climate change, or economic stability produces a perpetual atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. This uncertainty is reflected directly in the foreign policy. When presidents or politicians can unilaterally impose enormous tariffs or walk away from international agreements, frequently with little consultation, it gives the impression of unstable governance to the international community and the country's own inhabitants. For families and professionals, instability is an ever-present burden. They witness governments in nations such as Canada, itself a prime target of certain US trade policies, dealing with knotty problems with relative steadiness and social confidence. In contrast, the US is immersed in continuous internal conflict, and its foreign economic policy introduces volatile market fluctuations. This environment of ongoing war, disarray, and breakdown in social trust is the reason why individuals are not only departing from the American government, but also from the American community and the American economic system. For most expats, it is not about fleeing poverty, so much as about attaining peace, a peace that encompasses economic prudence. The work culture of Americans is infamous for its intensity. The hustle culture, and the long working hours are a result of the necessity to offset the suffocating cost of housing and healthcare. If the American is already juggling 2 jobs to be able to pay for healthcare, and then trade policy increases the cost of all the things they purchase, the only sane solution is abandon the system. Countries such as New Zealand and Portugal that value robust social safety nets and stable international trade relations provide a lifeline, the ability to take time out, live life to the fullest, and achieve professional success without the perpetual spectre of a trade war or a medical bill upsetting their whole future. The transition is from working to live. The current emigration wave also is facilitated by technology and a changing worldview of America's function. The US remains the world's most influential country, but its perception as stability, cohesion, and moral leadership has been badly bruised. Global allies and citizens more and more see the US as politically unstable, in debt, and too consumed with domestic bickering. Instability is central to losing talent. The perpetual risk of economic brinksmanship around the debt ceiling and the volatility of international commerce through transactional policies sends a message to highly educated and skilled individuals that their job and financial security blanket could be better served by a geographically and politically more stable nation. This sense of deterioration is exacerbated by gargantuan national debt, currently over $34 trillion. When a nation raises its debt level and has economic battles with its closest friends, such as the one mentioned in your link regarding tariffs against Canada, it builds a storm of economic uncertainty that high-net-worth individuals are keen to avoid by moving residency elsewhere. The solution to why the US is becoming a nation people don't want to live in anymore is not one crisis alone, but a disastrous convergence of failures on economic, political, and social fronts. It is the inability to manage debilitating debt and housing expenses. It is the inability to offer plain, reasonable healthcare. It is the inability of the political system to provide stability and unity rather than division and chaos. And, as the trade wars underline, it is the inability to have consistent, internationally integrated economic policies that protect its people from market volatility caused by itself. To the American expat, it is not a departure from American people or culture. It is a departure from the system which no longer lives up to its own core promises. They are not seeking the American dream overseas. They are seeking a contemporary standard of living that the American system has priced out, polarized away, and now economically destabilized. This departure is an unmistakable warning sign. When a superpower is not able to keep its own brilliant, ambitious, and hard-working citizens because of domestic economic turmoil and foreign trade tensions, it is an unmistakable sign of national deterioration. The question is whether the US institutions and government are going to be aware of the severity of the crisis before the American dream is eternally stored in the history books, instead of being a current-day phenomenon. But we want to hear from you. Did you ever feel this political or economic fatigue? What was the single most important reason for your decision? Tell us your story in the comments below. If this deep dive enlightened you, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more geopolitical insights. Introduction: the broken promise, the thesis. Core argument: the American dream is collapsing, evidenced by an exodus of educated and financially stable citizens. Root cause: this is not random. It's systemic failure, amplified by economic isolationism and global trade friction. The crippling economic burden, the primary driver. Financial squeeze: stagnant wages versus skyrocketing costs in 4 key areas: housing, healthcare, childcare, and education. Healthcare anomaly: the system creates terrifying financial risk and is designed to punish illness and reward debt. Trade policy as a tax: tariffs and trade wars are defined as a hidden tax on consumers and manufacturers, increasing inflation and adding layers of geopolitical risk to daily life. Political chaos and instability: the emotional toll. Political exhaustion: hyperpolarization has turned the political landscape into a tribal conflict, leading to constant dread and the decline of social trust. Governance paralysis: the inability to compromise on critical issues, infrastructure, debt ceiling, creates an atmosphere of erratic governance and market unpredictability. The exit: people are leaving the American community and the economic sphere due to this continuous warfare. The pursuit of peace and life balance. The alternative. Hustle culture versus well-being. The American hustle culture is contrasted with the more stable, predictable systems abroad that prioritize working to live. Global alternatives. Countries like Portugal, New Zealand, and Canada offer superior social safety nets and stability. Enabling factor. Remote work and digital nomad visas provide an easy path for high